We are back in studio, continuing our conversation with our panelists about college and career readiness. Before our last break, Billy was mentioning that some of the students who are returning from Goodwill High School are coming bearing the scars that they've had in their K-12 experiences, messages that they've heard that they can't make it, that they didn't belong. Lynn, you're in a position through Breakthrough where those are probably happening to kids in the moments now. How does Breakthrough address that?
Well, I think what we try to do is provide as much emotional support as we do anything else that we provide. Academic support, family support, and a lot of the students, it's a really emotional graduation because they talk about the role that Breakthrough has had in their lives. And what they say is, you know, my counselor stalked me. She was constantly calling me because we get access to their grades and we get access to them on the weekends. And so we try to interact with them and pull those stories out so that we can counter that scar or at least intervene before the scar has set in, because at that point, they're not 45 years old coming back later telling you a story about something that happened in high school to them that they never quite got over. Yes. So we're trying to get in there and say, no, that's that teacher, that's her issue. And we're going to fix that. And then we go in and we talk to the teachers and we show up at the schools and we fix it. And so that, I think we see it a lot, and it's a big part of what we do.
I think it's interesting. We talk about fixing a kid after they've been in a classroom. It makes you wonder what's going on in the classroom. I'm a teacher, and I know that when I stand in front of my students and I lecture to them, I'd like to believe that I want them all to be successful, but then I go and I give a test, and it turns out that maybe the bottom fourth of them aren't. Well, look what I've done to that student. And I feel as if I just walk away from that, I'm not really doing my job. And yet I get the idea that sometimes we think that assessment is more important than making sure that every student is going to make it. It's also fascinating that we put all these sort of artificial time frames around a student's learning. When a student shows up in a class, we already know which ones are most prepared to be successful and which ones are not. So why is it that 3 weeks later we verify that and reinforce to a student that they were the kid who was least prepared? Education's a long haul. Getting ready for a career is a long haul. The idea that you would step in there and intervene and let a kid know over and over again on a daily or a weekly basis, you aren't the best kid in the class, you're the third from the bottom. No wonder they leave.
And I think that piece is important, and I think what we have to do and what we're doing at the Excel Center is meeting students where they are and finding that place that we can take them and move them forward, share with others, because I think learning should be a shared experience, because the extension of multiple brains is a lot better than one brain trying to extend itself to a multiplicity of brains, rather than doing more cooperative learning in schools, so that building that community we were talking about earlier, so that students who may be not strong here can depend on students who may be strong here, and they can share that. Because in the workplace, and this is what we're trying to teach our students, that is how you're going to be a more effective employee, is that you learn how to share your piece of knowledge and garnish that from others.
Well, if we're going to evaluate a student on the basis of that kind of community learning, that would be great. But so much of it's about testing.
Exactly.
And I think in that situation, you're finding people in the online world who have come to understand that you can do adaptive, interactive learning with a student and take them from wherever they are and get them to where they can be successful. So they become actually competition for us who teach in the classroom. I always liken it to the idea of going and buying a video game. You buy a video game, they don't lock you out when you don't kill the first zombie. Well, it's the same thing here. Why is it that we can't imagine this combination of what you do online and in the classroom, where that student is forever feeling like they can push forward and are always seeing that they're better today than they were yesterday?
Well, can we imagine a school communities? Because we're basically talking about grappling with school communities as they are right now. Can we envision school communities that are there for kids to see them through? Not just through the outsider perspective, but within the school environment, the ecology of that school. Is it possible for us to envision that kind of world?
I think at Breakthrough, what we tried to do with the deep penetration at Manor is to create that, so that we have such a strong partnership in the district that they start to take on some of the practices that Breakthrough has introduced. And so what our executive director likes to say is that hopefully there won't be a need for Breakthrough anymore eventually, because everyone will adopt the mindset that we are here to help these kids no matter what that takes. And it means if the traditional testing methods are not working, let's change it. And if that means that we have to adjust our expectations as UT faculty about how we do things, then we adjust them. If that means the state needs to start spending money smarter, then that's what the state should be doing.
Do high schools walk in and on the first day in 9th grade say, every one of you will graduate, every one of you will go to college, every one of you will achieve your goal?
No.
That's what they should be saying, and that's where the accountability should be.
Well, I think of course the principal, if they do the
they have
big
to mean
speech,
it.
they
have to
say
mean
it. But exactly, are systems in place so that not only are they saying it, but are they putting in place those things that can get that done? And I don't think that's the case. Intentions may be good, but by the time that student gets through, and we have most of our students right now didn't get through 5 credits.
But it's so neat what you're describing with Breakthrough is when that kid walks out the door after they've just done badly on that test and got a C, there's somebody right there to tell them that it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they call the parents and they explain to them, this is what's happened. And we have Spanish speakers and other languages, because a lot of folks don't have English as their first language, and they say, we want to talk to you. Can we come meet with you?
So one of the things that's been fascinating today, and this is where we'll have to wrap up, is that the amount of engagement, human engagement, that is required to see everyone through is a given. From all the way from pre-kindergartner, 3 years old, all the way up and through. And I can't think of a better way to wrap up. So this has been the American Graduate Day here at KLRU. I want to thank all 3 of you, and I want to thank the audience. Thank you so much for tuning in.